So the first order of business is to call the meeting in order. I now call this meeting of the Central Valley Flood Protection Board of Friday, November 14th, 2025 to order. The action we take first is to establish attendance and quorum, so I'm going to ask Mr. Knapp to call the roll of the board.
Member Andrews?
Present.
Member Bosler?
Here.
Member Countryman?
Present.
Member Griego?
Here.
Secretary Johnson?
I'm here. Good morning, everyone.
Vice President Valines?
Here.
President Dolan?
I'm here. So that roll call introduced board members. If you watch them when they said hello, I think you all know them by this time. And that shows that we have a quorum, unanimous. So joining the board along the dais is our Executive Officer, Chris Leaf, to my left. Multitask person and helper, Jonah Knapp, to hear from him. Board Attorney, Mr. Dua is here. He's coming back to that chair. Chief Engineer Michael Wright, good morning, and Deputy Executive Officer Andrea Buckley, and then great faces of amazing staff out there. Our next item is for Executive Officer Chris Leaf to provide any announcements or introductions that you may have.
Thank you, President Dolan. I have two departures to announce.
Oh,
First, Zach Ramsey of the inspection section will be moving on from his position at the board in December for a promotional opportunity with DWR's State Water Project right-of-way section. Zach joined the board's inspection section in March 2020 and has worked diligently for the past 5 years performing field inspections, activating for multiple flood emergencies as a flood fight specialist, leading peer review meetings, and overhauling our approach to responding to time variance requests, which have dramatically cut down on unnecessary paperwork without sacrificing our commitment to flood risk reduction.
okay.
Please join me in offering Zach congratulations and best of luck.
Is he here?
I don't believe Zach is here.
Okay.
Is he listening online? I hope.
If he's listening
Best of
online,
luck, Zach.
or if he is not, would you please thank him? I guess we think someone is leaving us, but we're very happy for his promotion, and we wish him well. Absolutely.
Next, Bonnie Irving's last day with the Flood Board will be next week on November 20th. Although her time with us has been short, we're grateful for her stepping up into the tribal liaison role. In her tenure here, she has provided leadership, providing meaningful insight as the board strives to be compliant with key policies and programs and deepen its tribal relationships and connections. Bonnie is here in the back there. Thank you, Bonnie.
I'm going to ask you to do your last stand-up, Bonnie.
That's all I have for today. Thank
Okay.
you.
No introductions?
No
That'll be the
introductions.
next time. Okay, thank you. I'm going to just do a brief overview of the agenda, just to make sure that we have the order and maybe any questions if I got it wrong. It's just an overview. When we get to the items, they'll be more thoroughly introduced. So we've taken care of 1, 2, 3. Item 4 is minutes. Item 5 is identified as consent, and there are 3. They're all action. There are 3. Got to watch what I'm doing here. Item 6 is public comment. And this is when we ask if anyone has comments that are related to the work that we do but are not on the agenda today. And we do limit those to 3 minutes, and we certainly welcome submittals by writing. Item 7 is legislative update that our executive officer prepares. Sometimes we discuss and sometimes we don't. Item 8, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is going to provide an inspection of a levee system. Item 9 are board items, and there are 4. 1 is action, 3 are informational. Item 10 is a written report that we receive monthly, and I think in this case 2 months because we didn't meet in October, from DWR activities. And then item 11, board staff submits reports of divisions, branches, and monthly activities, and opportunity to ask questions and have an interaction. Item 12, board members report on their activities and committees and updates. Item 13, we just announced next meetings. Item 14 is the last item on the agenda. It's identified as a closed session. there will be a closed session. And when that occurs, either this board and our attorney and those who are necessary go somewhere else, or we stay here and the audience leaves and are welcome to come back, because we will announce at the end of the session whether or not any discussion or action was taken. So anything that is not in order? Okay, we'll proceed to the agenda then. You're up, Mr. Secretary. Brian Johnson, our secretary, will handle the approval of the minutes.
Thank you, President Dolan. This is the September board meeting minutes, and I reviewed them. I believe they're in order, and move that the September 26, 2025 minutes be approved.
All right, there's a motion to approve the minutes of September 26, 2025. Is there a second?
26, yes.
Did you make the motion? Did I cut you off?
No, I know. I can't see the type on this, so I said the wrong date. September 26th.
Welcome to doing that once in a while.
I'll
I'm very
second.
corrected. The second by Member Griego. Okay. Anybody want to talk about it? Please call the roll for the vote.
Member Andrews?
Aye.
Member Bosler?
Aye.
Member Countryman?
Yes.
Member Griego?
Yes.
Secretary Johnson?
Aye.
Vice President Vines? President Dolan?
Yes. The motion carries unanimously. The minutes of September 26, 2025 are approved. Item 5, consent items, and we have 3. The first is approval of the strategic plan. Chris Leaf, if there's questions, he'll handle that. Item B is to approve permit number 20007 for the James Bypass Check Dam James Irrigation District work. I read that, it's pretty interesting. They're going to do recharge. Item C is approved permit number 20021, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Snake Marsh Wetlands Restoration Project in Sacramento County. So those 3 would go with one vote unless someone wants to remove an item. Board members want to remove an item? In-person audience, you want to remove an item? You want to delay this meeting? Do we have a hand up? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent items, all 3 of them as one motion?
Go ahead.
Motion. Motion by
Second.
Board Member Griego, seconded by Board Member Countryman. Okay, ready. Please call the roll for a vote.
Member Andrews?
Aye.
Member Bosler?
Aye.
Member Countryman?
Yes.
Member Griego?
Yes.
Secretary Johnson?
Aye.
Vice President Vines? President Dolan?
Yes. The consent items, all 3, have been approved by unanimous vote. Thank you. And thank you, staff. That was good reading, since I don't sleep. Item 6 is public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience? Oh. I remember that I call on these first. A speaker's card. Nancy Nistern, you have a comment? We're going to start the clock on you, ma'am. Did you say don't? No, not to. We'll do that right after you say who you are. Please announce yourself.
Everywhere I go. I'm Nancy Niskern. I'm representing myself, and I'd like to share with you my feelings about the process so far. But first, I want to say good morning to President Jane Dolan, to your staff and your board, who have always been very agreeable to work with, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
My concerns are, number one, the Corps stresses the requirement for protecting the community as soon as possible, but does not want to talk with this community. It has attended public meetings, and we have, usually, the public has 3 minutes to talk at these meetings, including SAFECA, Flood Protection Board, and other entities. If we're limited to 3 minutes, there's no room for interaction on that. It's further exacerbated by the core definition of communication, the practice of developing and sharing information with others and is most typically thought of as one way. Number 2, the Corps is required to review and determine its guidelines for management of vegetation on the levees and whether they are appropriate for all the regions of the United States. This was the law that was passed in 2014, WRDA 2014, and it was to be completed in 18 months. A draft was issued and circulated 10 years later in August 2024. Now at the end of 2025, it still has not been issued. I had hopes for this document as the draft recognized many advantages of vegetation already in place. Number 3, we stakeholders are criticized for protesting too late in the process, and we should have addressed these issues during the design phase for the Contract 3B. We would have if we had known about it. Our first notice of this project was a postcard announcing notice of availability, and we got that in November 2023. Fourth, the current design and adherence to more rocks as opposed to considering the specific bioengineering alternatives is not optimal for us. This section of the river and the destruction of the natural environment, it seems like there is dedication to previous process as opposed to the best fit for this river. I feel that the risk of flooding is also not being reduced because there's other considerations here. Working with Central Valley Flood Protection Board, staff and board members has, however, been a welcoming entrance for me to the public's role in working with agencies. I thank you all for your time and attention to this project. I hope this board can make a difference, if not now, in the future, as I know you listen to us. And for that, I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this mine or yours? Am I?
It's yours.
It's okay.
If it was mine, you can have it. Anyone else here in the audience? Nothing from the Central Valley Flood Forum? Okay, but you're here. Any hands up? Who is it? Kim Early Hernandez. You can raise your hand and we will hear your comment. If you unmute yourself.
I believe that was accidental. I apologize for that.
It was difficult for me to hear what you said.
I was apologizing. I believe I accidentally clicked on the raise hand icon. I have no comment. Thank you.
Oh, you have no comment. What you're saying is you don't want to talk.
Sorry.
Okay, but you did. Any other hands up? Stuart Hansen. Mr. Hansen, you wish to make a comment to the board?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Good morning, President Dolan and board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Last night, I had the pleasure of once again viewing the entire video of the September 26, 25 board meeting. As we made clear for years, we being us landowners in the Horseshoe Levee area, we don't agree that the maintenance area boundaries proposed by staff comply with the spirit of the law, as in the water code. The board's decision to adopt those boundaries in the distasteful resolution, in President Dolan's words, is certainly very painful to us. The extremely high assessments will cause serious financial damages to our operations and property values, as we have testified. However, the board's discussion concerning the adoption provides reasons for us to be optimistic. We certainly look forward to working with the board regarding the 3 alternatives that were proposed to help reduce the damages to the ag owners. I only have 3 minutes, so let me get to one item that we need to request prompt action on, please. As you know, we're facing legal deadlines to file lawsuits if we wish to preserve our objections and protect our interests. We really do not, emphasis, do not want to file a lawsuit against the board. We would much rather work with you cooperatively, and I am encouraged by that video reviewing I did last night. However, in order to work cooperatively, without the sword of litigation hanging over our heads, we need an agreement with the board that the deadlines are suspended while we seek to work together through the alternatives. The landowners' lawyers, Ralph Nevis and Brian Manning, sent to your council, Mr. Dua, a tolling agreement which will suspend these deadlines. We ask that the board approve that agreement as soon as you can. As Mr. Dua is well aware, if there are any language, tweaks or whatever, Mr. Nevis and Mr. Manning are very responsive, and we'll work with him on that. We also feel that DWR should be a party to that agreement because the code talks about both the board and the department. And we would ask that you engage with the department or Mr. Dua engage and have the department also approve the agreement as soon as possible. Without an agreement like this, we're unfortunately forced to spend many tens of thousands of dollars to file claims in order to preserve our rights and objections. That's only going to add to the damages that we're suffering from these already high maintenance area assessments. As discussed in your meeting of September 26th, the board clearly does not want to increase the financial pain being inflicted on the agricultural landowners. So we would thank you for your prompt action on this and look forward to your speedy handling of the tolling agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let you go over just a bit. So,
I appreciate that.
yeah, no, I was making notes. So I was looking at our attorney who is certainly aware of that. So just nodding his head. We'll see how that goes. Okay, any other hands up? Okay, one more call. Anybody? Is your hand up? It sure looked like it. Okay. Got a little itch there. Okay. All right, then we'll move on. That takes care of the public comment. We appreciate that people have spoken to us, and you have a comment?
I just wanted to
wait,
make
I
one
should have
one
asked the
comment.
board.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. No,
Board
not
Member
on the
Bosler.
public comment, but on the consent item. I just wanted to go back to the strategic plan, and I just want to say kudos to our executive officer and the team that put that together. I think sometimes these things are neglected in state government specifically, and I just think it's really important to have these guiding principles that really help to organize how we do our work, because I think, without that, sometimes we can get a little bit bogged down in a lot of other inertia. So it's really important for us to be focused on those things. And I appreciate the updates that were made, especially around being timely and efficient in our work, because, time is money for all the people waiting for permits. And it's really important that we're doing as much as we can to move those things along and not be part of the delay.
Thank you for that. That's excellent. We had good workshops on that, and the outcome, well done. Looks like this. It's going to be on our website. Thank you all for your work, staff, and us giving our kibitz. Thanks. Okay. Any other board members have a public comment? No, we got another group to ask for. Okay, we'll move on. We've received the legislative update. I'm assuming you don't want to talk about the federal government, but you're welcome to. Do you have anything to?
Well, I mean, everyone knows that the shutdown has ended, so that's the one update I have from the report that I sent you last week.
Okay. All right.
Through the
Board
chair.
members have any questions on that?
Yes.
Member Grego?
I'm really concerned about how FEMA is going to be dissolved. And there's a lot of programs in FEMA, and I'm not sure specifically what is going to be dissolved. All the programs that fall under FEMA are going to be dissolved. If you, in the future, could provide a little bit more detail as that comes, about how that's going to happen, because I was reminded I need to pay my flood insurance. And I'm wondering, is there going to be anybody there to open the envelope? So thank you.
Time. Yeah.
On FEMA, there are both executive and legislative efforts looking at the program, and they're talking more about reform and restructure now than elimination, which I think is a step in the right direction, but there are very few details.
Well, that's standard operating at this point out of the federal government, but yeah, it just takes a good hurricane for someone to look what's going on. Okay, thank you for that. Member Andrews?
Thank you. I wanted to ask on a related note, not for details, but a question as to whether the state is mobilizing in a way to try and address how we think FEMA may be operating through the next year. It's very hard to plan in anticipation of unknown circumstances, but it seems to me that we're in a somewhat precarious position without preparation, even if it's not as effective given the lack of information available.
Yeah.
I don't have any information about that, but it does seem we may want to invite Office of Emergency Services to talk about that at some point next year. I'm sorry. I was saying that I don't have any information on that, but it might be good to have OES here to talk about what the state's response is going to be.
Okay, let's invite them. Yeah, well, I'll share what we know or more than likely don't know. That was Executive Officer Chris Leaf. Member Bosler?
Yeah, no, I have been following this development in the federal, and it's a really huge concern from a fiscal perspective for the state. The federal government has historically shown up in very, very large ways for California and for all of the other states when a natural disaster occurs. This is not just in flooding, but also in fires as well, and in earthquakes, obviously, that are more unique to California. But it does feel like there should be a lot of bipartisan, multi-state groups, especially around flooding, that I think we should really make sure the state is participating in to get views and understanding of the on-the-ground changes that this would and hardship that this would result in, because I do think there are different kind of ways in which the federal government has shown up historically, depending on the type of disaster, and so perhaps being able to work across with some other states in support of really helping to sharpen the message and be clear about what's needed. I get very concerned. Just having sat in the seat, ironically, I mean, not ironically, but normally we would probably have like a $3-4 billion operating reserve on the state budget. That's not enough to cover the kinds of expenses that would be needed. So you probably really need to even think about how you do budgeting if something if the federal government is really pulling back in a large way from emergency response.
Yeah. Yeah. It will make a disaster out of a disaster.
Through the chair. And if we're going to go in that direction, they also, FEMA does the mapping, which is determined by our rates. And they haven't, in the past, haven't had enough money to upgrade these maps. And it puts communities in positions where they're paying these high premiums. This is another concern of mine. So if you keep an eye on something like that or ask questions when that's available about what's happening with these maps and how premiums will be determined, especially when maps are so far behind on the work that's being done by the state of California.
All right. Well, it sounds like we look forward to at least the California Office of Emergency Services to come and join us in this discussion. So, thank you. Look around. If you want to talk, you have Member Bosler. You have to go like this. Not like that. I don't want to miss you. Okay. Ready to move on? Anyone in the audience want to offer any comments on the legislative report of our executive officer? Any hands up? Okay, then we'll move on. Item number 8, we'll welcome up to the podium Jeremiah Peak, board staff, Daniel Sparks of the Army Corps of Engineers, to give us a presentation of a levee inspection and its results. Good morning.
Good morning, President Dolan and members of the board. All right, today I'm here to present on 5 of the 8 Bear Creek levee systems. We are joined by Daniel Sparks with the Army Corps, and online there should be some people from the LMA. Are they on? Eric Ambrose? Cool, okay. Next slide, we have a map. Here's a vicinity map of the 5 Bear Creek levee systems that we'll be presenting on today. These systems are between Lodi and Stockton, and the systems that we're covering today are the 5 systems on the east side. There's an additional 3 systems on the west that will be covered in a future report. These systems protect over 1,000 people from flooding from Bear Creek, Paddy Creek, Middle Paddy Creek, South Paddy Creek, and Mosher Creek in San Joaquin County. These systems are maintained by San Joaquin County's Department of Public Works. That concludes my intro to the system, so I'll pass the mic over to Daniel, and he'll pick it up from here.
So in this instance, the local maintaining agency is the county?
Yes.
Okay. That's a lot of little creeks for the big creek.
A lot of creeks.
Yeah. In Chico, we only have 4. This one has more. Good morning.
Good morning, President Dolan and members of the board. I'm Daniel Sparks from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So on the next slide. Yes, sorry. So as Jeremiah said, we are presenting our inspection results for these 5 Bear Creek systems on the east side. On the next slide, we will get to our first report card. And so this is for the Unit 12 North system. All 5 of the Bear Creek systems that we are presenting on today are active in the PL 8499 rehab program. All of them have an approved SWIFT, letter of intent, and they have a SWIFT plan that was approved in May of 2025. For this particular system, we see that there are no unacceptable observations that are determined to have a negative impact on performance. As a result, this particular system can be considered active in the PL 8499 rehab program based off of inspection results alone. Next slide, please. Similarly, the Unit 12 South 10 and 13 Bear Creek system has no unacceptable observations that are expected to have a negative impact on performance, and can also be considered active in the PL 8499 program based off of inspection results alone. Next slide. The Unit 7 East system has unacceptable observations that are expected to have a negative impact on performance in the encroachments item, but as stated earlier, it is still active in the program due to having an approved SWIFT LOI. Next slide. The Units 8, 10, and 11 system are also have unacceptable observations in only the encroachments items that are expected to have a negative impact on performance, but again, are still active in the program. Next slide, please. The Units 8, 24, 26, and 9 system have unacceptable observations that are expected to have a negative impact on performance in the encroachments, animal control, and cracking items. Again, still they have an approved SWIFT LOI and are considered active. You can see here on the report card that we have flood wall rated items for the Unit 9 Paddy Creek left bank system. There are no flood wall features on either of the other 2 segments in this system, which is why there are those blank spaces featured on the report card. Next slide, please. Here we've chosen 4 representative pictures from across all 5 systems for some of the more interesting issues that we have. So the first one in the top left corner is an animal burrow on the Unit 8 segment. This animal burrow has a substantial amount of material excavated from the slope. Greater than 2 cubic feet of material has been removed from the slope. And so as a result, it has been assigned an unacceptable rating to have a negative impact on levee performance. The next one, in the top right corner, we have a deep crack running adjacent to a concrete head wall associated with the pipe. The crack itself is greater than 2 feet into the levee prism, and as a result, it was rated unacceptable and to have a negative impact on performance. The third picture in the bottom left is of the flood wall featured in the units 8, 24, 26, and 9 system. This particular item was rated minimally acceptable. The cracking was determined not to be a severe issue. And the flood wall in general was presented to be in a mostly good condition. We're only including this just for a bit of variety. And lastly, in the bottom right corner, we have the water side outlet of a pipe. We can see that there's heavy sedimentation there that is blocking the flap gate from operating. For this particular pipe, there is no video inspection within the last 5 years. However, for many of the pipes across the 3 segments or the 3 systems that had unacceptable rated observations and encroachments, it was determined that we had received a list of video inspections from the board, and many of those pipes were determined to have a PSAP LOF grade of 4 or 5, which is why they received the unacceptable and the encroachments. However, due to this, for the units 12 north and south systems, we were able to determine that there were no unacceptable rated observations, encroachments, and we were able to determine that they were active in the program based off of inspection results alone. I'd like to stand by for any questions.
Do you know what animal did that damage? You didn't find the critter?
I do not think so, no.
It had to be a big one.
A very, I guess, active squirrel, perhaps.
Yeah.
Ambitious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm surprised. Yeah, we'll go. Yeah. Maybe it's abandoned, so it will just get worse. Okay. Thank you. Input, questions from board members? Mr. Countryman, Board Member Countryman, you always have something to say, I hope.
Yes. Fulfilling my role of always having something to say. Who's the maintenance? Who's responsible for the maintenance on this?
That's San Joaquin County Department of Public Works.
Are they here today?
They are online, yes.
Could we hear from them?
Regarding these issues, Eric, is he?
Member Countryman, you would like to hear from the San Joaquin Public Works?
Yes.
Okay, they're online. Can we, I don't know who it is.
What was
so
the full name?
Unmute yourself and
Eric
introduce.
Ambrose.
He can
Is
unmute
Eric
himself.
Ambrose online?
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, barely.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, the eroding issues, well, I'm sure has been addressed. The eroding issues, I'm sure have been addressed.
I would think so, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Mhm. The cracking, I believe we are addressing it as we speak. And the flat gate, I believe will be cleared out for the rains.
This is President Dolan. You said clear out before the rains?
Yeah, it was.
We had a pretty good one in Northern California. Maybe you've
Yeah.
been
Pretty
spared.
good over there.
Okay.
Any other concerns?
Those cover the major factors, is that right? I'm looking at Jeremiah and Mr. Core. Okay. Thank you. I didn't catch your name.
Eric Embers, I'm sorry, from Superintendent,
Okay,
Hamilton County.
thank you.
I didn't
Member
really-
Countryman.
I really couldn't quite understand what he was saying, but I guess my question is, are you funded to, you have an LOI for this area? Are you
They have a
funded-
SWIFT. They have the SWIFT.
What?
They have the SWIFT. They've made all the steps. They have the SWIFT,
Oh, okay.
not just a
They
letter
have
of
the
intent.
SWIFT.
Yeah.
So, there's quite a few unacceptables here. What's the schedule? What's your estimation of when they'll be corrected?
Are you asking me or Eric?
No, the Stockton, or the San Joaquin County.
I think the sound was a problem. I heard that the erosion issue has been corrected, that the cracking fix is underway as we are talking about it here today, and the flap gate and the debris is underway as well.
Okay,
They're-
okay, good.
Correct.
They were hoping to do that before it rained.
We did it before.
I know, yeah. I'm a fan of Public Works, folks. I call mine all the time.
What was it to say,
Member Bosler.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems to me that it's a very good report, and kudos to San Joaquin County for prioritizing and putting resources towards maintaining these levees. But the U's are on the encroachments, which is something that this board has authority over. So I would like to understand, because it's been 14 years, no improvement on the encroachments. So I guess I'd like to understand from our staff what we're doing with San Joaquin County to try and address some of the unacceptables that are in the Army Corps report.
We do have more slides on that. So I think we stopped for a moment, but there are more slides regarding that.
All right, are we ready to have more slides? Anyone else?
All right.
Okay.
So thank you, Daniel. So here are the improvements since the last inspection in 2010. All of the spaces where it's green is a spot where it's been improved. And you can see all of the individual report cards that Daniel had, I combined into one. So you can see all of the systems at once. The system, like we talked about already, is currently active in PL 8499, as it has an approved SWIFT, which was approved this year in May. Next slide. These first two systems are the ones that are eligible not only through the approved LOI and, approved SWIFT, but these are also approved via inspection. Going through the highlights of these improvements, we've got all of the systems with their respective segments have been improved for operations and maintenance manuals, emergency supplies and equipment, flood preparedness and training since the inspection in 2010. For slope stability, we also have 3 improvements as well on the next slide. Those are highlighted. Three of the segments have improved. For animal control, on the next slide, we have 7 segments that have improved. You can see that there is only one segment with an unacceptable negative impact on performance rating, and that's due to the issue that was noted on the core slides earlier. For sod cover, we have 3 segments that have improved, and riprap, revetments, and mag protection, again, 7 segments have improved the ratings in that category. Next, I have a summary of the items that are causing these unacceptable ratings. So we got 12 unacceptable negative impact on performance observations. There are 11 encroachments, 10 of which are culverts, one of which is an irrigation pipe, and then that one incident, again, of animal control. The DEX section was created to resolve these issues affecting eligibility and resolve them so that systems can remain eligible in PL 8499. Here's some photos of those issues. So, number one, this is the irrigation pipe. This is the only UNIOP irrigation pipe shown in the report. The location is marked in the core as-built. It does not have a board permit. It also does not have a recent video inspection. As you can tell from the photo, the pump is missing. The intake is obstructed by vegetation and sediment, and it's missing a closure device. Photo number two is of a CMP drain pipe. The pipe itself is in the upper right-hand corner, so it's a little bit hard to see. But I chose this photo because you can see that there's erosion on the water side of this pipe. It's also shown in the core as-built. It does not have a board permit. It has a failed video inspection because of corrosion and missing wall defect. There are cracks in the grouted riprap, and again, there's that erosion underneath the riprap. For photo number three, this one is not actually a pipe with a negative impact on performance. In the draft report, it was rated to have a negative impact on performance, but in between the core inspection and the draft report, the DWR's DMP program went out and installed cured-in-place plastic liners on many pipes, including this one. And so we were able to coordinate with them and the Army Corps and get this particular rating reduced or improved to something no longer impacting eligibility in PL 8499. So thank you to the DMP program and the Corps for making that happen.
I was going to say, if number 3 is unacceptable, I don't know what we can do.
Yes, yes. No, we got that thing improved.
Yeah, it looks like you got scrubbing too. So the DMP would be the Deferred Maintenance Program of DWR?
Correct, yeah.
It's a good thing.
The last photo, number 4, is of a drain pipe. It has a failed video inspection, and I included a picture of the failure point. It is a joint offset small defect. This pipe is also shown in the core as-built. It does not have a board permit. So overall, the systems are all eligible in PL 8499. There's been a lot of work done to improve the system since the last inspection, so thank you to the LMA, San Joaquin County Department of Public Works, for all the hard work that they've put in. And that is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, there's me, Daniel, and then Eric with the county.
Thank you, Mr. Peak. Oh, do we have more?
Hi, good morning. Zubair Dosu with the Central Valley Flood Protection Board, manager of the Deferred Encroachment Compliance Section. I do want to extend my appreciation to both Jeremiah Peak of my section and Daniel Sparks for the presentation they gave thus far. I wanted to address Member Bosler's question about enforcement, or about the concern of the unacceptable items relating to encroachments on the levee systems. But there is staff is diligently working to address these matters. As you know, we do have an enforcement section that's led by Andres Calizo. Her team, in combination with our section, are working to address these matters. There's limited resources, staffing-wise, and these cases, they tend to take some time to address. So we have identified the issues. So essentially, our section is taking a strategic approach to identify what are the unacceptable encroachments that impact levee performance, essentially. And from that short list, we've identified, and Jeremiah showed that on his slide. We could also go back to the slide. There's only 10, a handful of items that are affecting eligibility or affecting performance on that levee. Those are the ones we're scrutinizing first. So with that approach in mind, we do believe that we'll see over time that these systems will receive eligibility in the PL 8499 program through inspection only. They do have the approved SWIFT that Jeremiah spoke of. That SWIFT was recently approved as of this year. So keep in mind those SWIFTs are a long-term plan to address matters affecting performance on the levee in a worst first approach. So that's in line with our idea of addressing encroachments that are affecting the levee performance first. I do not have a list of how many actually cases that we have in this area, and I think we could do better on our presentations in the future to identify that and make you aware of that, because it does show staff efforts towards addressing these issues.
Thank you for that information.
Could I make a comment?
Yeah, of course. You have the floor, Member
I guess,
Countryman.
you know, a red flag that goes up is when flap gates are plugged. That's something like an annual maintenance routine that should be happening out there. So I assume that that's, I think they said that that's actually underway to unplug those flap gates and have them ready for the upcoming season. Is that right?
That is correct. I believe Eric did address that, and that was his testimony to that, that they have cleared that debris out. I assume this is a reoccurring factor that happens after high water events, that those systems do clog with debris, and the county is actively working to clear that debris where it exists. And I do want to acknowledge that those inspection reports, they're a snapshot in time. So they can become dated after the inspection. So the Corps is going out there, and what they see at that moment is what's documented in those reports.
It's a matter of timing.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, Member Grego.
I got a question. I guess I kind of, encroachment seems to be the biggest thing when it comes to this, staying in this PL 8499. And I've, talk about it every time we seem to have this discussion is, how do we address this? If we were to take encroachment off this list of having to do, think about those agencies that would be in the insurance program, if that wasn't it. So my question is this, and I'm not going to nail you on anything specifically, but would you say that, these encroachments are owned more by, government agencies or utilities or private owners? Which would it be that is the ones that seem to be on this list as unacceptable?
It's a mixed bag. On this list, that's unacceptable.
And I mean generally overall.
Okay, and
yeah.
more in general,
Yes.
of course, that's going to be, like I said, it's a mixed bag, but it's a landowner issue. These are typically irrigation pipes that are arise to an unacceptable rating because they do not have video inspection reports. And the Corps has requested to have those reports every 5 years. So when that comes to light in those inspection reports, we do identify those. And like I said, it's a work in progress, right? Because there's so many encroachments on the levees, not just pipes. You have utility poles and all sorts of encroachments that exist on the levee. And that is because there's people behind those levees that need to use those facilities to be able to conduct their business or livelihoods. And we're understanding of that, but it's more so messaging the need, right? That this is the expectation that we have those reports every 5 years, and we have some documentation of what the integrity is of that facility. And so it might be identified currently as unacceptable, but that might not be the case, right? So when we take a closer look, we've got the video inspection for this for the pipe facility, it may show no flaws. That might be more unlikely. It may show minor flaws that need to be corrected. And when we do have that information, we do bring that to the owner's attention to address those deficiencies.
So what I'm getting is that it's mostly the privately owned encroachments that seem to have a problem. And it's probably because of financial reasons. Is that correct?
It could be, and it could be also the messaging, right? Are they aware that this facility needs that inspection report? And
Okay.
I believe with
Education.
with education, we're making that outreach with the SWIFT plans. The
Great.
county has a plan to address, and they've stated that they will obtain those records, even for their facilities as well. And so I think as time goes on and we better this process and we continue our messaging, we'll see more of those records. And we're coordinating with the Army Corps of Engineers currently right now for the interval for those records, right? So if there's no flaws that have been identified or minimal that are not do not affect the structural integrity of that facility, then maybe that's a cause to extend that interval from a 5-year inspection to perhaps a 15-year inspection,
Very
because
good.
there are costs associated behind the inspection.
Thank you for that. I appreciate your information.
It just shows the validity of having a branch like yours, or are you a division?
We're
Anyway.
we're a section, so
You're
we're
a
under
section.
a branch. So we're under the flood system improvement branch that is led by Greg Harvey.
Yeah, well, it certainly shows the need for the formation of this. And I can remember that when we would have these reports and there was no letter of intent, there was no potential of a SWIFT, it was just like, here it is, and who's going to do things. So there's been a lot of progress.
And that's
It's amazing
we're-
what's been done for systems that are maybe 10 to 20 decades out of whack. So
Yes.
It's hard, and probably created without any need for how they should be created. Member Countryman.
I should know the answer to this question. Maybe I do know the answer. Maybe the core person can tell. But the current administration in Washington is trying to get rid of FEMA. Would that in any way affect the PL 8499 funding, or is that a funding source that comes through the Corps of Engineers itself?
I'll speak to what I know, and if Army Corps would like to follow, I'll leave it to them. So as part of the SWIFT, there is 9 categories or criteria that they have to meet, and one of them is if they are working towards accreditation and towards FEMA. And so the system can state whether that is the objective of the SWIFT or not. For this one in particular, I do not know if that's the objective, but that is an option. When it comes to the SWIFT itself, it's a plan to correct the deficiencies in the system, right? So if it's not an emergency need, usually FEMA, it's emergency disaster funding. We do have PL 8499, and these SWIFTs make these systems eligible in that program. So it's more so.
And that program's funded through the Corps of Engineers, not
Through the
FEMA?
Army Corps of Engineers, not FEMA.
Yeah, so it's funded through the Army Corps of Engineers through our emergency
Okay,
management.
that's really my concern. Thanks.
Well, anyone who has answers about what's happening with our national government is welcome to tell us, because we're all wondering. Sorry. Mr. Dosu, are you going to give us some more?
Just one last thing. I do want to highlight that with this contribution of the DEX section, it's a new section as of last year.
The what section?
Sorry, I used the acronym, Deferred Encroachment Compliance section. We are working to refine our methods and processes. So there was a lot of communication, especially at the draft stage of this report with the county, and I do want to thank them for their coordination with that, to make us aware of the improvements to many of their facilities, and that changed a lot of ratings from being unacceptable, affecting performance, to be something minimally acceptable or acceptable. So Jeremiah did highlight that with the image of the pipe that was cured in place plastic lining, and it shows those efforts as well as DWR's deferred maintenance program's efforts to address these deficiencies in the system. So we, like the inspection I mentioned before, is a snapshot in time, but a lot of these issues have been corrected since the inspection, and we're working to get that information documented because sometimes it's overlooked and it makes these inspection reports look grim or not as good as they should be. So I thank Jeremiah for highlighting that.
Anything else, board members? Thank you. Your section does great work. It's relatively new, so it's truly improving very quickly. Thank you, staff member Jeremiah Peak. Good job. Thank you for these photos that we could actually tell what they were.
Thank you, President Dolan.
And thank you, Daniel Sparks, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We are your non-federal sponsor. We are joined at the hip. And our thanks to San Joaquin County's Department of Public Works folks. I didn't quite get your name, but I know it's in our records. Thank you very much for participating and giving the feedback of how you're correcting all the items.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. We're done. Okay. Mr. Leaf says it's at my discretion, so I'm going to call a 5-minute break. A real 5-minute break. Flood Board meeting is back in progress. I really did mean 5 minutes, but we need our attorney for something, and then it dawned on me. We're going to move forward and take a couple of items and then go back to the one that we were waiting for our attorney. All right? So where's my logo? So we're going to skip over just for now, item 9A. And we're going to board item 9B, as in best. This is, our executive officer will present the potential board meeting calendar for 2026. And I'm going to give it to you, Mr. Leaf.
Thank you, President Dolan. Chris Leaf, your executive officer. In your board packages, there's a draft calendar for 2026, and I just wanted to quickly go over that with you. The draft calendar reflects the same basic cadence that we had this year. So with board meetings generally falling on the fourth Friday of each month, and workshops occurring the second Friday of even-numbered months, and then coordinating committee and advisory committee occurring in alternate months through the year, so every other month for those as well. A couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention. First, board workshops are slated to start at 9 a.m., the same as our board meetings for next year. The second thing, there's a correction on one of the dates for board meetings. In September, it says Friday, September 26th, but that Friday is actually the 25th. So that's a correction that will be reflected when this is posted. Also, the January meeting, which is shows as January 23rd, will actually be moved up 1 week to January 16th. So the January meeting will be on the 16th. There's no action required of the board today. This is a draft calendar. Each meeting will be noticed with our 10-day notice. You know, depending on operational needs, there may be some changes to the dates as we move into the new year, like we moved a meeting this year in July. Also, while I'm on calendar, let me talk about December a little bit as well. So we will not have a board meeting on December 13th. I think it's the 13th. The regular board meeting, or the 12th. On December 5th, the day of our workshop, we are going to notice 2 meetings. So we'll notice a business meeting, and we have a couple of consent items to bring to you at that meeting. So it will be very short. And then we'll adjourn that meeting and go into our workshop where we'll present our annual report and as we do every December. No meeting on the 12th. Yes.
So the only December meeting for this year is the 5th?
After today, we meet one more time for 2 meetings on December 5th.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Johnson.
You told me that, and I was looking at December 26th, trying to figure that out. Got a little confused.
And I take it you'll circulate a revised version for those of us that weren't really taking notes as you read off the corrections?
Yeah, the updated dates will be reflected on the website, and Mr. Knapp will be sending out the appropriate invitations for all the meetings for 2026 as well.
Thanks.
Okay, well, then, thank you. Any, this doesn't sound like it's on. Is it on? It's on. It's just my hearing then, okay. Any other comments or questions from board members? Any of you in the audience care when we meet? I know you do, and I want you to, and I want you to come. Any hands up? Okay.
So just confirm that the meeting on the 5th starts at 10.
The meeting on December 5th starts at 9 a.m.
Oh, on the 5th, it starts at 9 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay, I got that wrong.
If I understand this, there are some corrections to dates, and you're going to let us all know by sending the email, and it's going to be posted on our board, and Mr. Knapp will be sure to give us the notice of the correct ones. And all meetings are going to start at 9 now, not 10.
The board meetings and workshops will be starting at 9 a.m.
Okay, well, you know, we're used to them, so we can do that. Okay. I don't hear anyone else who wants to talk. I don't see any hands up, so we'll take one more while that empty chair of our attorney can be filled. Item 9C is a presentation on the Sutter Bypass East Levee Project. Dustin Sanoski of our board staff, Flood System Improvement Branch. You're all highlight here today. It's going to introduce this. Good morning still.
All right, well, yeah, good morning, President Dolan, members of the board. My name is Dustin Sanoski. I'm a senior engineer with the Flood System Improvement Branch. Excited to tell you about this new project that's coming our way. It's the Sutter Bypass East Levee Improvement Project. There's no action today. This is just an informational briefing. So agenda item 9C. Next slide, please. So our agenda for today, we'll go over the project description, look at some location maps, background and benefits, look at timeline and funding. We'll look at some pictures of current conditions out there, the typical cutoff wall cross-section, and affected encroachments. Next slide, please. So the project description is to construct approximately 5.2 miles of levee cutoff wall, along the Sutter Bypass East Levee. This will address known and historical underseepage, which has been a problem out there. This project will remove and replace existing encroachments, and all these encroachments will be coordinated with and authorized with the Army Corps letter of permission that we'll receive at the end. Next slide, please. So to continue this cutoff wall, some of the depths will reach up to 55 to 98 feet. That includes 10 feet of assurances, so 45 to 88 feet. However, there has been talk of additional analysis where they intend to reduce the depth. Especially when you get deeper than 75 feet, you have to use a deep mix method, and it can get pretty costly. But just a little bit of information there. A cutoff wall up to 75 feet in depth will be soil bentonite via the open trench excavation method. And then, like I said, if they have to do the deep mix method, that's for 75 feet and deeper. This levee will be reconstructed to its original lines and grades. There is also talk of future projects to increase the height of the levee, as well as make the levee more sustainable 4-to-1 waterside slopes, 3-to-1 landside slopes, basically beef up the levee. But again, that's for future projects. Next slide, please. So the project is north of Sacramento, southwest of Yuba City. Next slide, please. There you go. Along the Sutter Bypass, the project will be between Hughes Road and Gilsizer Slough. That red line there is the project location. It's about 5.2 miles in length. And then the next slide, basically this is a footprint map. The project is located directly adjacent to the Tisdale Weir. And so again, between Hughes Road and Gilsizer Slough, 5.2 miles along the Sutter Bypass East Levee. Next slide, please. So some background of benefits. The Sutter Blue Flood Control Agency, SBUFCA, is the applicant. They're the one leading the project. Unfortunately, the executive director, Michael Bissett, was unable to attend today. He had some other meetings that he was not able to get out of. However, he is the one leading this effort. And again, SBUFCA was formed in 2007. So this site, this area, has historical seepage issues that have been documented since 1958. And so a 2019 Tudor Small Community Study identified areas with low levels of flood protection in the Sutter Butte Basin, which is what led the way for this particular project. This project is the first one selected that will address these known under seepage deficiencies in the area. So like I said, there will be additional projects in the future to continue flood protection, improvements for the basin. And as we go into the next slide, I'm going to talk about timeline and funding. I'm just going to skip down to the funding because I keep talking about future projects. Currently, the funding source is to be determined. SBUFCA had successfully partnered with DWR to secure a FEMA BRIC fund, FEMA BRIC grant, excuse me, for $50 million for construction, but then the BRIC program was canceled. So right now, this, like I said, the funding is to be determined. As of now, we're expected to complete design by 2026, next year, get a letter of permission from the Corps. We are at currently 90% design review with the Army Corps. And construction is expected to begin in 2027. However, it could be delayed because of funding issues. Yes, Mike Flintz, please.
Is the
Vice President Villain.
Thank you. Is the BRIC program scheduled to come back now that government's open, or is that one of the ones they just cut away?
I think that was the ones that they just cut away.
Great.
Yeah.
I didn't see it on any of the news reports, but it's always confusing what has or has not happened.
Yeah, we'll know more as the next year goes on. SBUFCA and Michael Bissett, they're very knowledgeable about all this, and they're working very hard to try and secure some funding.
Yeah, I know those SBUFCA people. I was actually on the Board of Supervisors when we approved it. Member Countryman?
I'm kind of dumbfounded. I don't know how to ask the question. So it's got a grant, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily funded, right?
Well, total project cost is approximately $57 million, and the grant was for $50 million. And so that would have covered the significant majority of the...
So the money's actually been funded by the federal government?
No, it has not. No, they
Because
thought that they'd secured it.
They're not funding a lot of grants.
You
So-
noticed, huh?
Yeah, I
They're
noticed
not
that.
funding a lot.
That's the issue, right? The grant was canceled?
Yes.
The grant was approved, it was proceeding, and then it was withdrawn. Not
And
yet.
so, unfortunately, we've seen it in real time. This has now affected our projects. So,
Not alone, yeah.
Well, we'll have a shovel-ready project.
yes, sir.
When we're funded.
That's a good point.
We will have a project that's ready to go as soon as the funding source and those who are in authority understand that we are saving lives and property.
That's exactly right. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, this is not planting garden. This is lives and property and a long time to get there. So it's hard to absorb that it
Yes.
got stalled. We'll just use stalled.
Yes. Next slide, please. So there you go. There are a couple of pictures about the current conditions of the Sutter Bypass levee crown. Your bypass channel is there on the left. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, that's
This is a
exactly
great
right. The
photo.
Sutter Buttes are there in the background. I thought you might like that.
I do.
And then there on the right side, you see your landside Sutter Bypass. Can you go back to the last slide, please? I'm going to mention this in a future slide about encroachments, but you can see some power poles there. Those will be relocated outside of the easement. Next slide, please. So this is your, yes, ma'am.
Which one are you moving the poles? The towers or the single pole?
The single poles, the
Okay.
just power poles.
The other one would
Yeah,
be,
not those big transmission
be
lines.
kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that'd be very, very expensive.
They moved those for Oroville Dam, but I don't think they move them very often.
Yes. Yeah, so here's your typical cutoff wall cross-section. They're all pretty much the same. This one in particular, they'll degrade the top third of the levee to make a wide working platform. They'll make their cutoff trench and then dig down the cutoff wall, like I said, up to, 45, 55 feet, and then up to 88, 98 feet. They will then, regrade the levee and bring everything back to your original grade lines there. All right. And so there are, because this is 5.2 miles of levee, there will be encroachments that will be affected. 6 existing ramps will need to be, removed and then replaced, rebuilt, basically. That will all be per code. There are some gates and fences that will be removed and replaced. Like I said, 3 PG&E utility lines will be removed and relocated to a minimum of 20 feet beyond the levee toe. There are 5 pipes or conduits that will be removed and replaced. 1 abandoned 36-inch pipe will be removed. That has a permit. We will actually be revoking that permit. We coordinated with the pipe owner, and they agreed. And there will also be 1 waterside staff gauge that will be protected in place. And so, working with the Army Corps, I basically put together a whole list of all of these encroachments and puts that on the radar. And then again, that will be included in their letter of permission that we receive upon 408 approval. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Vice President.
Thanks. Just a quick question on the water side slope and the levee side. These are basically the roads that go up to the top of the levee, right? That's what we're talking
Yes.
about when we're talking about ramps. I think in my mind, I first went to like freeway ramps or something major, but thank you.
Yep. Your standard ramps that, will go up and down the levee, but since they have to degrade the top part of the levee, basically those ramps kind of go away. So, same slope, width, all that will be replaced.
Through the chair.
LS is landside.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Through the chair.
Member Griego.
I kind of relived all this, all my years of Three Rivers. And so it looked like there was agricultural businesses on the land side. Is that correct? Is there ag businesses being?
Yes.
And one of the things that we ran into was making sure that there was a lot of cooperation and conversation, because their ag operations will be, like turnarounds for their equipment and so forth. And these ramps are really important to negotiate and be able to handle the equipments that will be going over. So I just want to throw that out there because it's important. Sometimes it gets overlooked, and just to be considered.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
To address that comment, one of the best parts about working with Sabufka is that, they've already constructed 45 miles of levee cutoff wall in the Feather River West Levee Project. And so I love that they communicate with everybody around them. And so I'm very assured that they will take care of that. Thank you.
We saw that in place when we went to the one that was on Sacramento Avenue, and
For the Tudor project? Yes, it's currently under construction.
we did
Well,
the side
they're
thing.
wrapping
Yeah,
up for the flood season.
yeah, it looks like it's been winterized as well, last time I went by. So, yeah, it's right by orchards and equipment and turnaround, yeah. Pretty sure those county supervisors are paying attention to the ag people. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Remember,
Yeah,
I like that.
I just am not familiar with the the impetus of this whole project, which was this small community study. Is there anything you can share on that?
I'm not too, I don't have a lot of knowledge about that particular study, but I know that was to look at the basin, to look at, known performance issues. And they were already aware of it, but under seepage was basically the problem. And so that study helped them identify, worst case scenarios. And so then that's where this project came from. Okay.
It's under seepage. These are levees that were just put in place without any analysis of what kind of soil, if there was one underneath it. So the community of Tudor is small, but it's people and businesses and locations of agriculture structures. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, of that. But further, it's for the basin itself. The levees failed and the basin's kind of a mess.
Yeah,
Hoping it not be.
Again, there's a lot of work to do out there. And so this is just kind of the first next part, aside from the whole Feather River West Levee project. So now they're fixing the west side.
Yep.
Okay, next slide. I think that's actually it. That's it. This has been a great discussion. Thank you all.
You want to explain this
Any
slide?
other? Right? Much gratitude. Thank you so much.
No, we thank you, because these are items and information that the board wants, and it helps bring to us, to constituents, to everyone else, that there are efforts that are needed and efforts that are being addressed. So sometimes it just happens behind closed doors. We like to open the doors.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Member Bosler.
I think it's really helpful to have this presentation today, because I think that just putting all of these different actions at the federal level in context, in the specific, is really very important for us. Obviously, the Small Communities grant, the Small Communities has been something that has been a priority for DWR and for the last two governors in terms of really trying to think about solutions, because it doesn't pencil out without support. And these are areas that are at high risk. So I think it's just, if there are more of these projects that we know about, it would be helpful, even if it's not dedicated presentation time, for us to understand the situation. I think that will just help us to really be able to really grasp what's happening to the community and to the projects and to all the work that went into to get this project together in the first place, that now has no funding.
Had approved funding, had it taken away. That's really hard to absorb.
Yeah.
It's also wrong. So spoken. Okay, thank
All right,
you.
well, thank you all.
Any hands up? No? Okay. All right. We're going to now go backwards on items, because we're happy to have our attorney here, always. We're going to the first page of our agenda here, item 9A, 2025 regulatory fee updates, notice package, and there is a red identified word there that says action by the board. So we'll see. This will be introduced by Andrea Buckley, our Deputy Executive Officer, and also the head of this branch that has a long name. You're going to introduce everybody. Still morning. Good
Still morning. Good morning, President Dolan, members of the board. Andrea Buckley, your Deputy Executive Officer and Manager overseeing Environmental Services, Land Management, and Flood Planning Unit. I will be handling this presentation in partnership here with Preston Shotbell, who is the manager of our inspection section and the operations section. But I want to point out that this effort was a large team effort from board staff, and it affects many programs and many functions of our operational programs. So while myself and Preston will be presenting everyone on our team here contributed to this package here. So today we're presenting our completed draft rulemaking package that will initiate the formal rulemaking process through the Office of Administrative Law, and we are seeking consideration of moving that formalized process today. So for our presentation, here's an outline. The board completed its last major fee update in 2019. So we're 7 years of our standard fee structure within our regulations. This attempt is to reduce our ongoing reliance on general fund, as well as to modernize the funding framework, and we are continuing to update this fee structure. So we will go through the history, which I alluded to just now, and our coordination efforts to date with our stakeholders and interested parties. We're going to go into an in-depth review of those regulation changes that we're proposing today, as well as the documents that you're considered there in your board packet, as well as what will happen subsequent to any approval today, and finally with our action of our board staff recommendation. Next slide, please. So over the past year and more, we've had several rounds of stakeholder engagement. We met with focus groups in January, held public workshops before this board, both in April and in August, and coordinated with the Central Valley Flood Control Association, Department of Water Resource, and Department of Finance. And these discussions helped us refine our fee structure and adjusting our formulas to better reflect the project complexity and effort it takes. This package is part of your consideration, and it reflects the input from our interested groups. While we don't have complete consensus, we continue to engage on that issue. Next slide, please. So our rulemaking package, which again is in your staff report, following the staff report, contains 4 key documents that are necessary to begin the OAL process. Your express terms are the actual proposed changes to the regulations. So they will feature underlines and strikeouts that we are proposing. And they include text changes to the Section 8, as well as a whole new section outlining the new fee structure. We also have a notice of proposed action, which will have the specific content requirements outlined in the Administrative Procedures Act. The initial statement of reason is also included, and this is our justification explaining how we arrived at our regulation changes. And we also finally have an economic and fiscal impact statement, also known as a Form 399, and that includes information regarding the fiscal and monetary impacts to both private and governmental agencies. That document also includes supporting calculations. We also are providing a CEQA analysis here today. This is a discretionary action by the board, and the proposed regulations are for the purpose of meeting operational expenses and therefore statutorily exempt from environmental review under Section 15273. So next slide, please. So with that, I will hand the presentation back over to Preston to walk you through the overview of our regulation changes. Preston?
Just before you start, were there any questions of Ms. Buckley? Hands up. Nicely done. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Good morning.
Good morning, President Dolan and members of the board. I'm Preston Chapo with the Inspection Section. So as Andrea said, I'll dive into some of the details of what is actually proposed for changing in Title 23. So walking through this slide, in Section 4 of Title 23, Division 1, we did decide to make some updates to the definitions. And this is where we have edited the definition of an encroachment. Before we did, encroachment had been defined, or currently it is defined, but there's not really much division or distinguishment from a flood system improvement project. You all have approved projects both for encroachments that are not really supposed to be there for the flood control system or the benefit of the flood control system, and then flood system improvement projects like Mr. Sinoski had just spoken about with Sabufka and improvements. So we've added we've edited the encroachment definition and added the flood system improvement project definition. I will touch on that later in the presentation here. In Section 8, we realized, since we were changing Section 8 a little bit already, we realized we could clean up the requirement for 4 hard copies of the application in quadruplicate, so that's no longer a requirement. We've generally moved electronically, through online forms, and we'll be releasing our permit application portal soon, so that seemed like it was unnecessary burden for applicants. And then also the reference to the National Geodetic Vertical Datum, we're updating that to the NAVD as the 88 as the preferred datum for projects to reference in their plans. To date, the current fees are really nestled within Section 8, subsections D, E, and F, talking about permit application review fees, construction inspection fees, and routine inspection fees. We realized since we expanded this, it deserved its own section, so those were struck out and moved into a whole new section of 8.1 called fees. While that's the smallest area on the screen here, the 8.1, that's what we'll be diving into more further on. And then, of course, Appendix B, which is our current schedule of fees, that is also updated to reflect the different types of fees we have discussed in the past and we'll talk about again today. So we'll start with the changes to the existing fees. And this is just an overview, we'll dive in a little bit further, but down below is a screenshot of our current fee schedule or a snapshot of it. We're going to have a new approach to permit application fees that we presented to you previously, and we'll just go over that today. And then we're updating the fees for name change requests, maintenance concurrent requests, minor alteration requests, and construction inspections. And importantly, through our discussions with you and the public and receiving public feedback from the regulated community and interested parties, we are removing the portion of the fee table that has to do with routine inspections while we revisit that program. So probably the biggest change and update to the existing fees is our approach to permit application review fees. This is more reflective of the approval process and what it takes to get from someone applying for a permit all the way through approvals from the board, and working with the federal government if it applies, and all those actions associated with it. What that means is that we're going to have fees applied at 2 different times. It's composed of, first of all, a base fee, which is due with the permit application, and that's a set $1,000 in this proposal. And then the second part is an activity fee, and that's the part that follows what the path is of a particular approval needed by the board. So different factors include, we still keep the categories and of the type of encroachment is still considered, but we've added more factors. There's a subcategory factor based on where that encroachment is in relation to a levee and what the risk it poses and what analysis is needed to say whether that design is compliant with Title 23. So that feeds into the technical review factor. Also, where it's located geographically. If this is a federal levee and we are working with the Corps to achieve a federal 408 letter of permission, that is a big factor and big effort for staff to get that teed up as well as they can for approval by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And then the approval method. There's an off-ramp for lower risk projects that are able to be delegated to the executive officer for approval, and other permits that or other applications that need to go in front of you. And those are quite a big difference in the amount of effort it takes to get those approved. And the final is a variance or waiver. There can be some projects that are complicated and don't quite fit the regulations, and we need to analyze them more. So that is an additional factor there. Actually, can you go back, please? So those activity fee ranges from $600 up to $7,000, and again, it reflects that the effort included and correlates loosely with the risk associated with what that proposed project is. Okay. Other existing fee updates are a little bit more straightforward. The minor alteration requests, which we call under Section 6E, that don't fully require a permit, but it nonetheless needs a technical review. Those have increased. Maintenance concurrent requests, if a proposed action needs staff review to confirm that what they're trying to do is indeed considered maintenance in accordance with Section 6D and the definition of maintenance in Section 4. That is another fee that has changed. And then name change permits. These are permanent updates to an issued permit that transfers the responsibility from an old or a previous owner to a new owner. That has changed as well. And then the construction inspection fees still follows the same approach as we have currently. It is category based. Some projects take a lot more oversight and field work than others, but there's generally slight increases for those projects. Okay, now I'll switch gears to the new fees that we don't currently charge for, but we've proposed. And again, all of this we have presented multiple times before. This is just sort of a review, and we're trying to highlight those things that we may have slightly changed or improved or refined since we've last talked to you. But those new fees include time variance requests, reviews, revision in plans, Sacramento and San Joaquin Drainage District, and land management fees, and then flood system improvement project fees. And then I will hand it, after that point, I'll hand it back over to Andrea to discuss waivers, refunds, and alternative payment methods, as well as how we plan to handle future fee updates. Next slide, please. So first we have time variance requests. We've discussed this previously, but technically work in the flood system is not allowed for permitted work without talking to the board and receiving a variance and the board granting a request for their variance to work during the flood season. So sometimes that means a project has been working all summer and they just need a couple extra weeks to finish up their work, or their work is relatively low risk. Maybe they're working on a bridge deck or on the crown, and there's not much, if any, excavation into the levee, so there's low risk. And there's other projects that are larger infrastructure projects, say a Caltrans bridge in a highly urban area over a federal, multiple federal levees on both sides of the stream. They are used to working through the flood season. However, they need to be in constant communication with us to monitor stream levels, to tell us what their scope of work is as they go through the season. And so this reflects that difference in coordination with staff and with management to grant those extensions through the flood season. And then plan revision fees down at the bottom there, relatively straightforward. The Title 23 allows for minor and insubstantial changes to plans after they've been approved here to be evaluated by staff and signed off by the chief engineer. This is a situation that is extremely rare. I've never seen it as I've been at the board, but there are cases in 18A that says a full revision in plans may need approval by the board. We have really never seen those because usually if it needs that big of a change, we might be reissuing a permit anyway. So I don't know if that's ever going to really happen, but we put that in there in case there is something that hit that middle mark for needing that. And then moving on to the Sacramento and San Joaquin Drainage District fees, temporary entry permits are $1,100. Licenses for new or annual fees are $1,100. amendments to existing licenses are 600, and real property conveyance is at 3,700. And I'll pause with all of these. I want to reiterate that the fees that we've put here are, we've done analysis of what is the minimum staff requirement and cost that we could possibly do to get these out the door. And all these fees are set well below what that cost might be for an hourly rate of staff and the effort to do that. So moving on to flood system improvement projects. There's been quite a bit of update to that. Like I said before, we did update the definition. So for a flood improvement project, creating this definition, which I won't read, but you can take a look yourself, is meant to be high level, but it's meant to help with the application of this flood system improvement project, right? How do we know that a project should be in a flood system improvement project fee versus an encroachment fee without saying a little bit more about what we all think a flood system improvement project is. So that's the reason why we put that in there. And then we also refined, since we last talked to you in August, we further refined what's going to be included in the total project costs. Generally speaking, total project cost was going to include planning and design costs associated with project planning and preparing design documents, plans, specifications, environmental compliance documents, and other materials necessary for the project. But this excludes real estate acquisitions, off-site mitigation, encroachment relocations, and any geotechnical excavations that must be performed during the project planning process. So understanding what your subsurface situations are, that is not included for total project costs. So this table here is the fee schedule for these projects. So I want to highlight that those first two tiers, basically for projects up generally smaller projects up to $5 million in project costs, are not required to pay a deposit at the time of application. However, those larger projects, the scope still may be wide, but it's going to be a multiple year effort on behalf of the applicant as well as staff to guide that through federal processes and state process to get that approval. So there would be a 33% deposit due at that time. So this is our effort to reduce what that upfront cash a proponent must have available, which is especially beneficial for disadvantaged communities that often rely on state and federal grants that reimburse those costs later in that cycle. We've discussed that disadvantaged community effort, and this was the best way we could make it both efficient for carrying it out and reflective of those that have smaller projects and are very locally funded. And one last important note is that, as Dustin had said for his project, there can be utility relocations as part of a system improvement project cost. Those are outside of these fees, and if those need to be re-permitted, they are subject still to the encroachment permit fee schedule, so outside of this. And if I misspoke on that, I have Greg Harvey here to help me out on that. With that, I think I will turn it over, if there's no questions, back to Andrea. Okay.
I can hear brain power. Everybody's thinking, including me. I like that one about those that get grants from state or federal and their communities that don't have a whole lot of money in the bank. You have to pay that up front. Things don't happen because you got to. Grants get paid after you do the work. It's very strange. Board members, any questions on this? It's a lot to absorb. Anyone in the audience? Mr. Harvey, you're going to move in the front row so you can jump up when we need to. Any hands up? Okay. Ms. Buckley.
So currently, our Title 23 standards don't include any provisions for waiving a fee or for refunds of fees. So we are seeking to clarify that. And we are, in the regs, in our proposed package, fees cannot be waived unless there is an alternative funding agreement in place and executed with the board. And I will address exactly what that entails on the next slide. But also, go back one slide, please. Thank you. However, we also wanted to clarify that refunds are limited to 2 cases. And that's when the staff makes a calculation error in the fee total, or when an application is withdrawn by the applicant before staff has completed their 30-day completeness review. And this ensures fairness while protecting the board's objective of cost recovery. Next slide, please. So alternative payment methods. This mechanism, we wanted to clarify, is for large ongoing programs, maybe perhaps some of our frequent flyers, regional flood management or multi-phase levee work projects. And these agreements allow for streamlined billing and allow for coordinated work on multi-year complex projects. It's important to note that these agreements do not guarantee approval of any kind or of a specific permit. They simply create the administrative framework for the cost recovery. And the staff will be providing an annual report to this board summarizing all active agreements we have in place. And that's written into the regulation. Next slide, please. So for our future fee updates, we are seeking to establish an administrative process for annual fee adjustments by board resolution. And this avoids repeated rulemaking activity, as well it keeps fees aligned with the real costs for the operational review of these actions. Now these are limited to once a year, and the board approval is required to make those modifications and refinements. This only applies to the base fee that you heard about on the encroachments as the starting point, and those adjustments are rounded up to the nearest $10 increment, but they are based on 2 factors. An inflationary factor, which is tied to the consumer price index, consumer price index for urban consumers as reported in the price letter, budget letter, issued by Department of Finance, which is my understanding is available September, October timeframe. As well as other fee adjustment factors. So those fee adjustment factors may be changes to the activity factor. So for example, if the Corps changes their process and it takes more time or less time, we have the ability to raise or lower those activity values that are the multipliers for our base fee. And additionally, we added provisions to show that when the new fee structure would be effective, and that would be the first day of the 2nd month following that board approval. Next slide, please. So I'm going to have Mr. Shotbell come back up and go through the next steps in our rulemaking process and outline what the plan is subsequent to this board meeting.
Thanks, Andrea. Okay, so let's walk through this a little bit. So that first bullet on the left is the rulemaking documents we presented to you today for your approval, understanding of it, so that we can move forward. The intent is that we would submit this package, if it is indeed approved today, to the Office of Administrative Law for their high-level completeness review. That usually takes about a 10-day window. So if it goes through today, it would be on November 28th. I know that's usually a holiday. Yes, exactly. What I'm outlining here is in attachment B for the staff report. That's from the Office of Administrative Law to kind of show what that process is. But I'm trying to apply it to what the board's meetings are and how we're going to navigate that. So, right, so at this point, November 28th, it would be, these rulemaking documents would be posted in the register out for public comment for 45 days at minimum. And the process requires at least 45 days before there's a hearing. So we're noticing the public that a hearing is happening. We say when that hearing is going to happen. We're a board, not every agency has a board that meets monthly, but that is the requirement. So we're looking to the January or February board meeting for that. The date of that is a little bit in flux because we're still hammering out our board meeting dates. But that would be updated probably from the report and what I'm going to be showing on the next slide here. I'm sorry, can you go back? Yeah. During that 45-day public comment period, we'll be responding to comments and seeing if we need to make any changes based on those comments to the rulemaking package. And if there's no major or substantial changes, we'd be on track to meet with you at that next board meeting when it's scheduled. So then that's considered the public hearing can be required by the Administrative Procedures Act. So I think we can go to the next slide. I'll bring this home here. So these are the dates that I discussed. We try to get that over to OAL as soon as possible if we do indeed receive approval today. On November 28th, like I said, even though it's a state holiday, they say that they post them rain nor shine nor holiday or anything. So confirm that with them. So that's great. And we'd be working to see what we receive for public comment and if that necessitates any changes to what we've put out there into the public. And that could be also from any completeness review from OAL. And then, like I said, the January 16th date I put on there is incorrect. It'll be a different date. But bottom line, through that whole rulemaking process, we are trying to get these in effect. They take effect on a regular rulemaking process quarterly. So with all these dates put in there and stacked up, we're looking at a July 1, 2026 effective date for what you see here, or some version of it. So I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions on that process that we're walking through right now?
Thank you. Board members? To my left, to my right. Anybody sitting here listening to that, going through the report, which is interesting reading and clearly written.
Great. We hope it's clear. I will add, once I got a second to breathe here, that part of the review for those final rulemaking documents, OAL is going to take a deeper dive into the package itself to make sure it's really good and ready for publication as a regulation, right? So there can be comments from them that change things, and we might need to go out for a small change to let the public know that section changed a little bit, or if there's a large problematic issue that the office sees there, that we may have to come back to you again and show you what those changes are and get that in front of the public. So there is a little bit of we don't know what we'll see from the different parties, but all along, like Andrea said, we are keeping the Department of Finance apprised of it, and that final package will also go to the Department of Finance to make sure that the implications that we put into the Standard 399, they get their questions answered by us if it's not clear what we put in. But yeah, so the end result still is where we're gunning for July 1st.
I have a question.
Yes.
I listened to what you just said. And I understand this goes to the Office of Administrative Law, which may or may not have full understanding of everything that's been done in the last 10 years about fees, but that's okay. We don't always understand what everybody else does. If they find that something they recommend or actually direct that something to be changed, does that start another 45-day review?
I think it depends on the nature of the comment. I'm utilizing that flow chart that you have there.
Mm-hmm.
So what they consider to be minor and substantial may be different from what we consider, but they would guide us on what might need to happen at that point.
Okay.
But of course, we would keep you updated as much as we know and what might need to happen in terms of if there's a big enough change that you and the public need to know, we would absolutely be transparent about it.
Oh, no, I definitely trust that. In any way that we can assist, we will.
Sure.
We don't, no, we don't want to write this. We just want to make it happen. Does our attorney have a comment?
Just to add on to what Mr. Shotwell was talking about, yes, so.
Mr. Dua?
Yes, thank you. If there are minor changes, either when it's out for a public comment and a change is made, it's considered minor, it would go back out for another 15-day review period. If it's a major change, something that is not already in the reg package, it's something new, that would require another 45-day review period. So just want everybody to keep that in mind as it goes through the process. Which is why it's important that the team has been, coordinating, collaborating with the Department of Finance and the interested parties. So hopefully we don't have repetitive review periods. Thank you.
That'd be great. We have extremely competent staff to understand, don't do things in a vacuum, communicate.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, with that, I will turn it back to Andrea.
Still
Next
morning.
slide, please. So this is our summary of our staff recommendation today. We are seeking to adopt our CEQA findings to find the project. The discretionary action before this board today is statutorily exempt. We are seeking approval of our 4 rulemaking documents and direct the executive officer to file the CEQA notice of exemption and submit the rulemaking package to OAL. Are there any questions? Next slide, please.
You gave a longer description to the 4 instead of identifying.
So
them.
our express terms, our notice of proposed action, initial statement of reasons, and our economic and fiscal impact statement are the 4 documents required by OAL to begin the process.
CEQA for actions, for documents, and to direct the executive officer to take the necessary actions to file CEQA and actions to submit the rulemaking. So the request to adopt is on page 7 of the staff report. So we'll find that. Any questions on what we are being asked to adopt today? Let me look to the right. Andrews. Bosler, give you some time. Pretty silent board right now, but I'm going to get a little pause here so I can find the paperwork and see. Do you mind if we have Mr. Engler talk while you're going through the paperwork? We would not start making a motion until we hear from you anyway. So, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, President Dolan, members of the board. Tom Engler, MBK Engineers, Central Valley Flood Control Association. Nothing new today. I just wanted to again get up and express our sincerest gratitude for the process that you have held on this and the constant communication between us and staff. There's been substantial changes along the way to address our comments, and we greatly appreciate that. I did want to let you know that we will continue to make our objections to the system improvements because we continue to disagree that that fee should be charged, but we also understand that you're not really in a position to say we can't charge that fee, so we're hoping that somebody that can make that decision hears us. So that's just what we wanted to say. Thank you, and congratulations for finally getting to this step.
Well, thank you for the thank you, and thank you to the Flood Control Association for your participation and assisting and actually not telling us you disagree with all of it today. It's a tough thing. it's tough on our part, too. We did not ask for this, but we do our duty. Board members? You still working on that, Member Bosler? I was just wondering if you're working on asking a question here. Okay, you can think. Anyone else in the audience? Someone standing but not. Okay, hands up. Oh, okay. I was looking for online hands up. You're next. Okay, none. Member Bosler.
Is anyone from DWR here that would talk about this, or?
Perhaps they're online. They did receive our express terms ahead of noticing this board meeting, so, and we have not received any comments from them. But as Preston laid out, there is more opportunity for commenting and for interested parties too, when they have more time.
Yeah, when I just think about the flood system improvement, that it is usually like larger scale, larger issues, and so I just want to really understand how they're feeling about all of this and understanding it. I think that's critical given their role and responsibilities in the Central Valley.
I think we can expect that one's going to come up again. It's a very complicated issue. Yeah. And this today doesn't set that in cement, does it?
No, ma'am.
We still have this.
We still have that.
We still have this. We're only on the top part. We still have all this. We're not graduating yet.
This is just our initial draft rulemaking package.
Yeah. No, the preparation for this has been astonishing, but now it needs to go for others besides us to make the review and give input back. So this is to begin the process for that big discussion and information submittal. You like that? I like colors. Any more comments, board members? Can I ask for this action, that is there a motion for the action that our staff wishes us to adopt? No?
I would like
Wait.
to make
Okay.
that motion when you're ready.
Okay, wait.
Before we
Member
move
Bosler?
on, I think if we could have Mr. Engler come back up and talk, just to remind all of us and to have this on the record about the concerns you have with the flood system improvement
Okay.
fees.
Absolutely. Tom Engler, MBK Engineers
Good
Flood
one.
Control Association here again. Yeah, our objection is that system improvements are a state responsibility in our mind. The state is who signed the assurance agreements, and this board is the state agency that is responsible for the flood system. So we feel like if we are doing projects to improve the state system, we should not be paying the state fees to review that process. So we just think that the partnership would say that we shouldn't pay fees to improve your system. That's the simple way of putting it.
No, that was good to do that, because we've heard this in previous board meetings, but to have it in the transcript for this one would be appropriate as well. Thank you, Member Bosler. So when you say we, you are talking about the private sector that takes its work on at the request of state agencies.
Correct.
Here's a project, we don't have the shovels, we just have the direction and the idea and the authority, and you don't want to have to pay that fee?
Correct. We refers to the local maintaining agencies, flood control agencies, cities and counties that are implementing these projects to improve the system.
Right. Our partners that
Correct.
maintain the system and also need to fix it when we tell them. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. That was a good one. I'm just looking again, if you want to say something, because I have Board Member Grego that is ready to make the motion. 3, 2, 1. Member Grego?
Great. Before I make the motion, I'd just want to reiterate and thank our staff for having all of the interaction, not only with the board members on several occasions, our partners, and also the public. I want to thank you for all the efforts that you made in this. It's nice to see this, and I think it's well done, and I look forward to this moving forward. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion as staff recommendation that's been on the board here for us. And I'm going to make that motion to do all of those actions, to adopt, to approve, and to direct.
All right, the motion is before us, and I'm going to ask that those introductory remarks be part of that introduction, and then the motion made to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Andrews. Last call to say something. Please call the roll for a vote.
Member Andrews?
Aye.
Member Bosler?
Aye.
Member Countryman?
Yes.
Member Griego?
Yes.
Secretary Johnson?
Aye.
Vice President Belines?
Aye.
President Dolan?
Yes. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, board. The motion is approved by, adopted by unanimous vote. So, thanks.
Can I make a
Always.
ask of Chris, our executive officer? I think it's really important as we've launched this over to OAL, like to really think and work collaboratively with the Department of Water Resources, and then kind of bringing forward a conversation to the Department of Finance and to the legislature about this issue of the flood system improvement branch, because I think there are some substantive issues that I think people do not want to discourage, and these fees may make it even more challenging for some, especially small communities. And so I think we just need to think more collaboratively and more holistically about what we're trying to achieve. And I understand from a very fee-based it all, kind of perspective, but I think it's a little more complex given the state's ownership of the state plan of flood control and liabilities. And so I think we just need to be able to educate people about the complexity of, it's not just about shifting off the general fund to a special fund source that is a fee. It's much more nuanced and complicated than that because of our unique involvement in the Central Valley as an asset owner in a different way.
Through the chair, just
Yes,
to
Member Griego.
kind of add on to that, it would be interesting to get an analysis done on what would that dollar amount look like on past history in order to have that discussion with finance and others that might have some influence over that.
Yeah. Well, if the board does not object, I think these points that are raised are appropriate. My sense is when these have come up, and we've had conversation with the Central Valley Flood Control Association, that large projects that are system-wide improvements can having a fee from the private sector, the folks doing this has been problematic. So let's ask our executive officer and appropriate staff to have some communications to describe this. It's one thing for the legislature to say you need to enact fees. It's another thing to understand all the complexities associated with that. So, does that sound okay?
Noted. Thank you.
You got an assignment. Thank you. Thank you, Member Bosler. Member Griego, trying to figure that out. Okay, are we ready to move on? We're going to hear from Ms. Buckley again. Are you ready to go? You don't want the 5-minute Dolan break that goes into lunch, do you?
At the pleasure of the president.
Okay. We're ready for you. Item number D, under board items, is a presentation of the board's Natural Resources Management and Planning Division. Andrea Buckley will be introducing this and her staff. We have this handout with everyone's photo. That's great. Still morning. You're on again.
Good morning. If we want to pull the presentation up. So I want to introduce, we have our team here, our full environmental services and flood planning team here. And I want to express the gratitude to this small and mighty team. The type of disparate work that they have to cover is complicated, and it's never ending. And we'll hear more about that at the annual report on December 5th. But we wanted to give you some progress updates here, and as well as this group is so creative, and you will definitely see this in the presentation. So I'm very happy to have here the full staff over here with the environmental services and land management and flood planning. So with that, I'm going to turn over the environmental services presentation to our manager, Jamie Silva.
Thank you, Andrea. Good morning, President Dolan, members of the board. My name is Jamie Silva. I'm the Environmental Program Manager who oversees the Environmental and Land Management branch that is comprised of our Environmental Services section and the Land Management section. So today, staff will be presenting a brief overview of the Environmental Land Management branch, as well as the Flood Planning and Programs branch. And so my team will be providing updates on environmental sections goals, board-sponsored projects, tribal affairs, special projects, and current activities of the land management section, and then a presentation by Christine Van Skyke, our flood planning and program staff. Next slide, please. So the environmental services section is currently staffed with 4 senior environmental scientist specialists. Jennifer Callis, who couldn't make it in person today with us, but she is on virtually. Angela Wintun, Jordan Robbins, and Bonnie Irving. And they are such wonderful staff, and I'm so appreciative of all their hard work. And so now I'm going to hand over the presentation to Jen to present the section goals and actions.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning, President Dolan, Vice President Valines, and members of the board. My name is Jen Callis, and I am board environmental staff. Our section has 4 main operational goals, and those are to assist, coordinate, and review projects where the board takes discretionary action under the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. We assist the processing of board-sponsored flood improvement projects by coordinating with DWR and the Army Corps as the non-federal state sponsor and CEQA lead. We further develop relationships with partnerships with the California Native American tribes in the Sacramento and San Joaquin River basins. And we investigate regulatory changes and permit streamlining opportunities to advance restoration and multi-benefit projects. Board environmental staff oversee statutory and regulatory environmental compliance of board programs. We support the Flood Systems Improvement Branch, the Operations Branch, and the Land Management section. Board environmental staff review and support the board's actions through compliance with CEQA. Some examples that the Environmental Services section provides support on are permit applications, board-sponsored projects, Public Law 8499, cease and desist orders, and creation of maintenance areas. This slide shows the diversity of workload that the environmental section completes in support of the operations branch. As of the beginning of November, so far this year, board environmental staff have filed approximately 57 CEQA notices related to permit issuance and 38 CEQA notices for minor alterations. In addition, we have made 22 no project findings for name change permits, completed 13 comment letters on publicly circulated environmental documents, and made 11 CEQA findings for enforcement actions. In total, the board has taken 141 actions supporting the operations branch. I would now like to invite Angela up to discuss board-sponsored projects.
Thank you, Jen. Good morning, President Dolan, Vice President Belines, members of the board. My name is Angela Nguyentan, and I'm board environmental staff. Today, I will highlight some of the actions we've taken this year for board-sponsored projects. Board environmental staff coordinate with the Army Corps in partnership with DWR's Flood Projects Branch on the review and approval of board-sponsored projects. The Army Corps is the federal sponsor of the projects, and the board acts as the non-federal state sponsor with DWR lending project management and technical support. Local sponsors such as the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency, or SAFCA, and San Joaquin Flood Control Agency, and local levee districts partner with the board to fund the non-federal portion of the project under a project partnership agreement or a local partnership agreement. This year, our partnership with DWR was pivotal in the certification of the Flood Risk Management, SEIS, SEIR, which supplements the 2016 ARCF General Reevaluation Report. Next slide, please. Board environmental staff also coordinate with the board's flood system improvement branch on the review and approval of board-sponsored projects and related encroachment permits. These projects are intended to improve or add facilities to the state plan of flood control. So far this year, next slide, please. This slide shows so far this year, board environmental staff have supported the Flood Systems Improvement Branch with the processing of 20 permits for various utilities, ramps, and similar encroachments for projects such as the Tudor Flood Risk Reduction Project, Natomas Levee Civil Works in the Natomas Basin, Lookout Slough, Knights Landing, and others. Board environmental staff reviewed and recommended certification of the Flood Risk Management, SEIS, SEIR, various board administrative actions, including 2 letters of intent. Staff have reviewed and recommended the approval of 4 CEQA addendums to environmental documents that were previously certified by the board, some of which I will talk about next. Next slide, please. One project we'd like to highlight is the American River Contract 3A addendum. Since the certification of the 2022 supplemental EIS EA for the American River Contract 3A project, amendments to the construction schedule and haul routes have occurred. An additional waterside haul route was needed to avoid scheduling delays and potential safety issues due to similar or other project construction going on nearby. The modification was considered minor in nature and would not result in any new significant environmental impacts. The addendum was approved by the board's executive officer on May 19th, 2025. Next slide, please. It has been 3 years since the Folsom Dam Raise Modification Project's supplemental EIS EIR was certified by the board in August of 2022. Since then, project design refinements have occurred, including modification of the corbels located at each of the 9 piers along the lakeside face of the main dam. The corbels were found to be insufficient to support the weight of new stop logs. Modification was considered minor in nature and would not result in any new significant or potentially significant environmental impacts. The addendum was prepared pursuant to CEQA and approved by the board's executive officer on February 7th, 2025. And now I will hand it over to Bonnie. She's going to talk about tribal affairs.
Thank you, Angela. Good morning, President Dolan, Vice President Belines, and members of the board. My name is Bonnie Irving. I'm board environmental staff and the board's tribal liaison. Today, I'll provide you with a brief overview of actions we've taken so far this year with tribal consultations and requests. The board, as the non-federal sponsor for the Army Corps Section 408, is the bridge between the applicant and federal reviewers for any proposed encroachments to the state plan of flood control. As part of the Army Corps' consultation under Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act, the board is responsible for liaising tribal requests received as the State Historic Preservation Officer considers the proposed project impacts on historic properties. We've been continuing to refine our tribal coordination and procedures with Army Corps staff and tribes to make a more accurate and efficient process regarding how we liaise tribal requests. This includes recurring meetings with 5 federally recognized tribes to discuss and clarify their requests. So far, in 2025, the board's tribal liaison has received 50 new requests from 7 California Native American tribes. These requests can have multiple parts, such as relaying tribal inadvertent discovery treatment plans, coordinating site visits, surveys, tribal cultural awareness trainings, tribal monitors, and providing project updates and information. Next slide. As part of the large umbrella of the California Natural Resources Agency, the board's tribal liaison regularly coordinates with other CNRA tribal liaisons. We participate in CNRA's monthly tribal affairs meeting to get updates and guidance on new California Governor's Office and CNRA policies and initiatives. The Bay Delta Tribal Engagement Working Group to provide monthly updates to tribes on the board's plans and projects located in the Bay Delta, such as the Yolo Bypass Cashley Master Plan, and the CNRA's Co-Management and Access Work Group, which help provide information to develop CNRA's draft tribal stewardship policy. We also attend trainings that are specific to tribal affairs and liaising. This image on the left of the slide is from this year's CNRA Tribal Affairs training, where liaisons visited the Sequan Cultural Center and Museum in El Cajon, California. Next slide. CNRA has recently adopted a new tribal consultation policy and best practices on September 25th, 2025, and it replaces the policy from 2012. Additionally, CNRA is working on a draft tribal stewardship policy and toolkit that they will be presenting more information on to the board at a future board meeting. As a property owner of state lands, we look for opportunities in co-management, access, and use of land to work cooperatively with tribes and in accordance with the Governor's 2020 Statement of Administration Policy, Native American Ancestral Lands. Further, we're actively supporting reinterment efforts on board fee-owned property. Now I'll hand it over to Jordan. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Bonnie. Let's see. Good morning, President Dolan, Vice President Villines, and board members. My name is Jordan Robbins, and I am board environmental staff. Today, I will provide you with a brief overview of a few special projects the team has been working on. Mitigation credits for listed species are at an all-time high demand due to their scarce availability. These off-site species acreage credits are important to offset project impacts that occur on-site. Board staff regularly participates in Army Corps' regulatory Section 404 Mitigation Banking Interagency Review Team and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services Conservation Bank Review Team. Board staff are working with regulatory agencies, restoration practitioners, and the advisory committee to find resolution between conservation and flowage easements for projects that are advancing multi-benefit habitat projects. Next slide. In 2025, the board has issued 4 permits for mitigation and conservation bank projects: the Johnson-Cosumnes Mitigation Bank in Sacramento County, the North Delta Fish Conservation Bank in Yolo County, and both the Harmony and the Sacramento River Valley Elderberry Longhorn Beetle Conservation Banks located in Colusa County. Board staff is actively reviewing and meeting with project proponents for the proposed Cash Slough Mitigation Bank in Solano County and the proposed Patrick Shea Conservation Bank in Sacramento County. This year, the environmental section worked with the board's deferred encroachment compliance section to complete emergency repair work from damage caused from the 2023 floods. Board environmental staff filed 28 CEQA notices for various sites within multiple counties. The environmental section will continue to work with the deferred encroachment compliance section to develop our procedures as we move forward to identify additional streamlining opportunities for this important work. Now I'll hand the presentation back to Jamie.
Thank you, Jordan. Next slide, please. Jamie Silva, board staff again. So I'll be providing a brief overview of our land management section of the Sacramento and San Joaquin Drainage District. So it's comprised of myself and one senior right-of-way agent, Patrick Nolan, who sits within DWR's real estate branch. Next slide. So in compliance with Water Code Section 8502, the board manages and controls the land and properties owned by the Sacramento-San Joaquin Drainage District, or SSJDD. SSJDD property management activities include executing licenses, leases, easements, temporary entry permits, and conveyance of real property. So currently, the district holds approximately 26,600 acres in fee title, 14,200 acres in joint use agreements, and 209,500 acres in easements. Next slide, please. So DWR collects the lease and royalty revenues on behalf of the board and deposits those revenues into the general fund as required by current statutes. The amount of lease revenue is highly variable and largely dependent on commodity process and the economy. Given the economic and market-sensitive nature of production, reliability and forecasting of the revenues can be challenging. Previously, revenue has varied in amounts from $330,000 to $1.8 million. Although highly variable due to the volatility of the natural resources extraction market, these leases have generated an average of approximately $800,000 per year for the last decade. To date, the SSJDD has 15 active leases, generating a total revenue of $330,073 for fiscal year 24-25. You'll see that the type of leases the SSJDD has executed varies between private and public entities, ranging from agricultural, apiary, grazing, sand removal, and a parking lot lease to leases with public entities like the California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Department of Water Resources. Currently, the SSJDD has 5 oil and gas extraction leases that are annually inspected in coordination with the State Lands Commission. Next slide, please. So this diagram depicts the amount of land in acres the SSJDD owns in fee and in easement. You'll see on the right is a list of criteria when determining the potential amount of land in our inventory that may be available for lease. You'll see that of the 236,100 acres owned, it is estimated that roughly 995 acres fits this criteria. Next slide, please. The board has a 50-year lease agreement with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, which is slated to expire in March of 2027. Staff are actively coordinating with CDFW to query our SSJDD portfolio to determine which properties would fit their needs. This is an important relationship that the SSJDD upholds with CDFW for the development of critical habitat for California's fish and wildlife, while serving a dual purpose to meet our flood obligation needs. By entering into this agreement with our state partner, the board can expand public recreational opportunities throughout the state and uplift habitat, while CDFW presence deters illegal activities and unwanted presence on SSJDD land. This allows the board to exercise its operation and maintenance obligations over the adopted plan of flood control more efficiently. Next slide, please. So board staff continues to work with the Department of Water Resources Geomatics branch to improve the board's parcel viewers capabilities and address ongoing maintenance needs to support our real estate property management activities. This year, Geomatics was able to add the ability to search by assessor parcel number, as well as create a visual representation of Water Code Section 8361 facilities that the Department of Water Resources manages that was previously only described by code. We are working with consultants and other board staff to implement these improvements into the board's encroachment permit viewer to better assist staff with their technical reviews. Geomatics was also able to perform maintenance activities and database upgrades that have gone unaddressed, such as the migration of servers, redisplay and republishing of data, increasing the dynamic ability between the board's encroachment permit viewer and parcel viewer, and identifying missing records or acquisitions from scanned documents, which will later be validated by staff and layers will be created and added to the parcel dataset. Next slide. In fee property that SSJDD holds that is outside of a local flood maintainer's operation and maintenance obligations is still within the board's responsibility to maintain. As such, the board has implemented our abatement program that connects the board with local government agencies to address impacts from the unhoused on SSJDD property. These impacts vary from debris accumulation, encampment establishment, hazardous waste, and public interaction with unhoused individuals. These impacts have the potential to affect the surrounding water quality and pose a public safety risk. The program executes a reimbursable contract with cities and counties to perform maintenance functions on the board's behalf, such as vegetation management, debris and hazardous waste removal, erosion control, restoration, and fencing. Next slide, please. The contract that is currently in place with the City of Sacramento is set to expire by February 2026. Board staff is actively coordinating with the city to renew their contract for another 3-year term. Board staff is also working with the California Interagency Council of Homelessness to garner programmatic support to address impacts from the unhoused on a more holistic basis. Furthermore, board staff is drafting an abatement policy in alignment with Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-124, which states that each agency and department shall adopt policies consistent with Caltrans's Maintenance Policy Directive 1001 R1 to address encampments on state property. Next slide, please. And now I will invite Christine Van Skyke from our Flood Planning and Programs branch.
Thank you, Jamie. Good morning. President Dolan, Vice President Villines, and board members, thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Christine Van Skyke, and I am a program manager for the Flood Planning and Programs branch, and at this time, I am the only staff member in this branch. The Flood Planning and Programs branch supports the board by leading forward-looking planning efforts that lay the foundation for future flood risk projects and programs. Through strategic coordination and collaboration, we help position the board to pursue resilient multi-benefit solutions, many of which are made possible through substantial federal investment. Our work ensures that the board remains proactive, informed, and ready to meet the evolving challenges of flood management across the Central Valley. Next slide, thank you. Major program activities supported by the Flood Planning and Programs branch includes prioritizing regional and interagency engagement, supporting planning and engagement efforts across the Yolo Bypass, the Cache Slough, and the Greater Central Valley, including major planning activities listed on the screen, and I'll provide more detail about on the next few slides. For the board, next slide, please. For the board's work on the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan, board staff, including myself, Andrea Buckley, and James Silva, actively participate in the development of the 2027 CVFPP update. We participate on the committees and participate in the regional flood management planning efforts and RFMPs, including our obligation for the board to continue to pursue the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan implementation priorities. Next slide. So staff provides logistical, facilitation, and technical support to the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan in support of the coordinating committee and the advisory committee. Our advisory committee at this time includes over 100 representatives from local subject matter experts and important environmental organizations. And working together, we've also formed 3 subcommittees that include board members and leadership from those key agencies. That includes the Incentivize and Realize subgroup that explores early strategies for funding and regulatory alignment. The Roundtable Sharing Knowledge Sharing Roundtable, which allows us to create a forum for lessons learned and looking for paths forward. And the Definitions and Conservation Objectives Tracking helps to support the development of the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan's portal that will house the conservation module. And we will give more information and provide an update about advisory committee, sub-work groups, and work group activities at the upcoming coordinating committees in the next few years as we continue to work towards our goal. including support for regional flood management planning for the RFMPs do help to align local and regional flood management planning and priorities. Next slide, please. For the Central Valley Flood Protection Plan, the timeline listed here shows that, and also that we are updating the themes framed around these three overarching themes that build on past project, but also respond to today's challenges, including addressing climate resilience and readiness, to strengthen collaborative actions, because partnerships have always been at the core of the CVFPP. The goal is to make collaboration not only broader, but make the plan accessible and equitable, and to enhance the ecosystem integration to include the 2027 update to integrate the conservation strategy directly into the plan. The 2027 update is targeted for board adoption in June 2027, and in the next year, you'll start to see regular updates from the CVFPP development team to keep the board posted on their progress. Yeah. Next slide, please. For the Yolo Bypass Comprehensive Study, I just came from a pretty important leadership meeting where board staff continues to coordinate with the Army Corps of Engineers, SAFCA, and DWR for this major effort. The board serves as the non-federal sponsor to the State Plan of Flood Control for the comprehensive study and is intended to be a system-wide analysis of the Yolo Bypass. This effort aligns and allows us to seek support for federal project planning and resiliency to align federal participation in the Yolo Bypass Cash Loop Partnership and to seek federal authorization or funding for the future. Next slide, please. In June of last year, the SPD commander and the headquarters Army Corps Planning and Policy Chief determined that the Yolo Bypass Comprehensive Study will be designated as a mega study and governed according to those requirements. The Assistant Secretary approved $13.9 million over 5.5 years. The mega study makes it a high-level and large-scale federal feasibility study addressing complex water issues, challenges across a broad region. It's rare and significant federal investment, and it is approved for the work and scope. Working together with the Army Corps and our non-federal sponsors, SAFCA and Department of Water Resources, it's our priority to make sure that we signal the region's challenges are of federal interest and importance. This gives us the potential to unlock future federal funding as a prerequisite to federal construction funding and for long-term investment. It allows us to have multi-agency coordination to bring together federal, state, and local partners and our tribal regional tribes to come together to understand and align solutions. It also established the technical, environmental, and policy foundation for future efforts in the Central Valley, a key critical flood region. Right now, work is underway to identify alternatives and tentatively select a plan, and the final package is anticipated for 2029 with the district final report package submittal. Next slide, please. In addition, another major planning effort, the board staff has been working with our Department of Water Resource and our Yolo Bypass partners to develop the master plan, and the public draft was released in June of 2025. The team is in the process of releasing the final draft of the Yolo Bypass Cash Loop Master Plan, and this will help to guide the partnership and future opportunities that we have within the region. Board staff leads the communication and engagement efforts for this project, including finalizing the website landing page and language, routing the public packages, and final announcements, drafts for approvals, talking points, and other presentations for upcoming release and future meetings and publications. Once the final draft is released, the Flood Planning and Programs Branch staff will provide the board a presentation to update the board on the process at a future meeting. Next slide, please. So the Yolo Bypass Cash Loop Partnership is an important effort for the board as well. The Flood Planning and Programs Branch participates as one of the 16 agencies that signed an MOU and have been working on the Yolo Bypass Cash Loop Partnership for almost 10 years now. Next year, we have an opportunity to renew the MOU to continue this important work going forward. It is the priority of the partnership to continue to align with the federal comp study while seeking alignment with the 6 pillars of the region that ensure protection of our most vulnerable communities and protection of cultural and tribal significance. The Flood Planning and Programs branch leads the communication and engagement and outreach efforts for the Yellow Bypass Cash Loop Partnership and its initiatives, including the board serves as the lead agency for the Partnership Organizing Committee. We coordinate the efforts and the agencies for the ongoing work that the partnership sees. We manage the delivery bulletins and website updates. We maintain a listserv of over 1,100 people, and we track engagement and coordination along with DWR and our other partners. And we look forward to continuing this work on the partnership coming forward. Next slide, please. So the partnership pillars are an important part of the partnership effort, and as you can see on the screen, our goal for the partnership is to collaboratively implement a series of integrated projects that provide these multiple regional benefits. And the regional benefits we refer to as our 6 pillars, and they continue to be a priority for the partnership and are the outline for the definition for the master plan, including future recommendations on how we can move forward on making sure that these priorities continue to be at the forefront of our work. Next slide, please. The board participates in large-scale planning efforts and engagement with partner agencies, and on the screen is just an example of the work that is coordinated in the Central Valley. We don't do this work alone, and we don't work in a silo, and it's important for us to understand that the planning project and collaborative activities support the work we do in the Central Valley and the regional efforts. The board plays an active role in shaping regional and system-wide flood planning efforts, and through collaboration with state, federal, tribal, and local partners. The Flood Planning and Program branch is an important part of helping to develop these strategies that reduce flood risk while supporting environmental and community benefits. And with that, I will hand it back to Andrea to conclude.
Thank you for that. Wow. You introduced that as you're the sole staff person for that immense amount of information that you provided. We are very grateful for your energy, knowledge, and work. All of those goals, and we clearly understand, I think the board and you all clearly understand we're under-resourced. Just have to work on it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Are there any other questions regarding natural resources and flood planning efforts?
Questions or accolades? Vice President Vines?
Yeah, I'll start with accolades. Fantastic. Appreciate that. A lot of good work, a lot of work. Under-resourced, as our president said. Question on the tribal stuff. Is there a set policy for how long we ask for tribal review? Is it 60 days set by the governor? Is it 120? What is that?
I'm going to defer to my liaison.
I was kind of looking over there, but I didn't.
The CNRA just, as I said in the presentation, CNRA just adopted a new tribal consultation policy, and they have a set of best practices. Their preference is 60 to 90 days. The longer is the better. For emergency situations, they do allow a 30-day consultation period, but typically they want 60 to 90 days.
Do you typically see tribes respond in that 60-day period, or does it generally go longer, shorter, or just we don't have enough experience to know?
I don't have a lot of experience. Jane?
I think it's both.
I think
do. I think it's both. My understanding is there's some tribes that are very active because of the projects that are occurring and the planning that's occurring, and then there's others that maybe don't have the resources, are unaware. The more rural
Absolutely.
tribes.
Yeah, well said, President Dolan. That's exactly it. Is that we'll see faster responses from tribes that have more resources or funding. And it may take longer for others. It's also possible that we may get some late requests after that period as well. But the mission behind the consultation is to provide that seat on the table of, hey, we're reaching out, we're asking for you to come, and if you're interested, please reach out. If not, no worries. You know, it's at any time kind of within that consultation period, we'll move forward. But the board is a very empathetic board towards tribes from with my time here. So we work closely with the tribes that do request to talk with us. Andrew?
President Dolan, if I may, Board Council, just wanted for the record to reflect that in response to Vice President Valine's question, it was first Bonnie Irving, board staff, and followed by Jordan Robbins. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for not saying that the president messed up. I'm trying. I forget that I know them all, but it's got to be on the transcript. Member Bosler?
Yeah, I was really fascinated by the land management sections report, and you know, a big deal that the 50-year lease is coming up, and I hope that we're looking for opportunities on how we might modernize that or add to it. I have to say, I think that ownership of land by the state, it should be simple, but it's not. And I mean, I have to say, I worked in government my entire career, did not even know that Central Valley Flood Board through the SSJD. SSJDD had ownership of land. I imagine that is not well known by other sister departments, or maybe if it is with this mapping tool. I'm very excited about learning more about the mapping tool. I think that's really great. One thing that this administration has really tried to do with regards to housing, which I'm not saying housing is the right fit here, but I think there's a similar application, is really think about how the state lands can be used in support of different goals that we have. So I think that the more that we can share information, especially obviously with our sister agency, Department of Water Resources, and thinking about how we utilize lands to get projects done, to serve as mitigation potentially, you know, all kinds of different things. I just think that we should be really thinking about how these lands can be managed for sustainability and in service to what we're here to do, which is protect the state plan of flood control and the people that are protected by it. So I'm just interested in learning more. Like, you piqued my interest of things I want to learn more about. And just also want to say overall for your section, just really appreciate the leadership that you provide in many different rooms that you're in. You're not necessarily the only decider, but you are an important contributor. And I think we have a really unique point of view here at the Central Valley Flood Protection Boards, you know, in terms of our responsibilities and our regional kind of views. And I appreciate the leadership that you all are exhibiting in all of those rooms.
Thank you so much, Board Member Bosler. And I'm happy to share our externally facing parcel viewer. As Mr. Silva mentioned, we have that it's a very easy share for partners and other agencies, so they can look at our portfolio of property and we can share in a mutually beneficial relationship in terms of eyes on the property always is helpful. And as you can see with our small staff and with the help from DWR, we can't survey all those acres. So those partnerships are very important to us, that the property is maintained safely, and we're going to continue with that. And CDFW does have our full portfolio and has expressed interest in new properties that they would like to have oversight over, and we're excited to renegotiate that 50-year lease.
Member Bosler, you took the words right out of my mouth. And I just want to add, today we're hearing from the Natural Resources Management and Planning Division. But there's another division, I don't remember what its name is, and maybe it's just a branch, that deals with designated floodway and lands within the Central Valley that the board, prior to there being the DWR, designated floodways, and that's another, in my view, and I think yours as well, that we could have partnerships. To protect properties, but also to assist in establishing the great need for recharge. So that'll be the next one. I'm so glad that we have each of our divisions, branches, sections, whatever, wherever you are, give these presentations. We hear you when there is a project to do, but when we see the array of your responsibilities and your chores and the work that you accomplish with minimal resources is just extraordinary. I'm stunned and so congratulatory and grateful for you all.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Is that a hand up? It is. Ms. Nistor, will you stand and come to the podium so we can hear you and record you?
Excuse me. I'm kind of weak on my legs here. Thank you.
This is Nancy Nistern.
Nancy Niskern, public speaker that you're probably bored with. It'll soon be over, I'm
Not
sure. Thank you. Good answer. I did a deep dive into the Indian consultation process, and that is a process. But I understand, I'm sorry, I understand it's being amended and changed, and I want to get an update on where I can look that up. But also, when I looked at
that would be the
Bonnie
Natural Resources,
and Jordan, and I was thinking I could even write this in an email if you want to.
That'd be good.
Okay. Do you want to hear the rest of this? I just wanted to know the number of tribes that you actually work with in this process and how it's defined. And I think you said something about 7 recognized tribal, federal tribes, and they were like 20 plus.
Oh, no,
before.
there's numerous federal tribes.
Right, okay.
But it
very
would
good.
be the ones that you work with for the project where their
Okay.
lands are. That's why you hear
Exactly, that
different
makes
numbers.
sense. That'd be way too much otherwise.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you,
So that's
folks.
all your
And
questions.
I'd say the key word for today's presentations was the effort for collaboration.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you.
Collaboration, partnerships, action. Okay. Any other comments? Board members? Audience? Getting thinner. Wow, thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's mine. Okay. Ready to move on? We'll take a little stretch before we do that. Our Department of Water Resources has prepared and provided to us a written report of their activities. Anyone want to bring out something and talk about it? I'm daring not. Questions in the audience? Hands up. Okay. We have received staff activity reports, written updates from our executive staff, administrative division, operations, flood system improvement branch. We also received a packet of information from the Natural Resources Management and Planning Division, but he also presented it in person with great PowerPoints, and the executive officer's delegated permit report. Anyone want to withdraw any of those and ask questions? I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody with a hand up in the room. Any hands up online? Okay. Board comments, committee updates? Any board comments? Member Andrews?
Comments on? Sorry.
Oh, what have you been up to?
Got it. Thank you. We have been active with the advisory committee, even though the advisory committee skipped a meeting. We've been busy working on the sidelines with the work groups and plotting our path forward to maximize the benefit of the work that the advisory committee members have been doing. I don't think I have any comments aside from that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, yeah, those work groups, that's a good idea. Nice job. Member Bosler?
Just continuing to really think about the issues that we want to highlight in the next plan, Central Valley Flood Protection Plan, around financing, because there's a lot moving. I mean, we heard a report today about a project that was going to be funded, no longer funded. So just really thinking about how we tackle continuing to move forward on important and good projects that in some cases like have multiple benefits for the state in this region, especially in those circumstances where it's really challenging because of they're not urban, but they're still really important parts of our state, but they don't have as many payers or ability to support that work. So we are, I think, working with the folks at Department of Water Resources to just really think about how to be thoughtful in using the plan to convey the current state of affairs, especially when it's changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something just thinking about.
I like that polite way, changing so rapidly. Sometimes I use the word chaos. Member Johnson. Okay, keep up the good work with the advisory committee. I love listening in. Vice President Valines?
Just our executive committee work and
Yeah.
keep them busy on some of our projects.
There's that. Member Grego.
With the passage of Prop 50, it's brought a highlight to our area, specifically the Yuba Sutter area. We've had an interest of Congressman Thompson coming to our area to want to learn more about flood control, and so I'm getting this opportunity to do some education with him. We're planning a get-together to look at some of the projects that have been done, along with some of the projects that need to be done. And so we're partnering with those local agencies in order to provide that education opportunity here. I'm also, yes, thank you. I'm also up to my elbows in pies right now. It's the holiday season. And so I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Yeah. Member Countryman. Okay. Congressman Thompson went to Chico State, so he lived in Chico for, I'm not going to say how long it took him to go through school, because I'm not going to tell you how long it took me, but he has experienced some of those areas, so you'll find him, yeah. He's a friend from back in the Chico State days. Okay. Committee updates. We'll have them here. Upcoming meetings, coordinating committee is having both an in-person at West Sacramento City Hall and online next Tuesday, November 18th. This month is going like that. We are having a board workshop on December 5th. That one is occurring. It is going to start at 9 a.m. It's going to start at 9 a.m. We used to do workshops at 10. Everything's at 9. Advisory committee is set to meet here, or meet at the flood board basement December 9th. Still on? Okay. We'll look for that. And board meeting on December 12th is not going to happen. So if you show up, you'll be alone. Okay. That takes care of the active agenda. The next item is closed session. So I'll ask our attorney to provide the matters that we will discuss, and then I have found out that the audience needs to remove because we're going to stay. The closed session is for the board, attorneys, and people that we want to stay. But you might want to hear what will be discussed. When we conclude, we will come back and say whether or not there were any action that was taken and why. So if you would indicate when you say the items, if you expect discussion and action, or what? Mr. Dua.
Thank you, President Dolan. G. Dua, Board Counsel. Today, in closed session, we'll be discussing the American River Trees matter versus the Central Valley Flood Protection Board, and I do not expect to have a report out afterwards.
Well, it's the Flood Protection Board et al. So
Yes.
discussion, no expectation of any actions to be taken. Okay. We will adjourn the open meeting and organize ourselves to have the closed session. The Flood Board reconvenes for the sole matter of the only item that is left on our agenda, which was a closed session, which was held, and we took no action. So there is nothing to report out of that other than we had a discussion. Meeting adjourned.